So recently, this last Wednesday, there was a really terrible school shooting. And just before we get into this video, I want to explain that this is in no way a joke. I say that because a lot of times you guys think I'm being sarcastic. I'm 100% serious. I think it's terrible for people to joke about something like this, especially after such a tragic incident. But with that in mind, I want to give my opinion and my thoughts on the subject because there's been a lot of opinions going around, and I have to say I disagree with most of them. I think the thing that is disgusts me the most is that people are blaming things like video games. I mean, that can play a little part, but that can't be the main cause. Or like they're blaming guns, and that's pretty stupid, honestly, because obviously it's a gun that was shot, but it wasn't the gun that shot itself, it was a person who shot it. So obviously, we don't have to get rid of guns. We have to make sure that kids don't have this mentality that like they're so lonely that they would do something like this. And the thing is that was so disgusting to me was that loads and loads of kids in the interview said, "Oh yeah, we knew he was a weird kid. Like we knew he was gonna do something like this. Like it was terrible." And at first glance, you might be like, "Oh yeah, that's terrible. Like they knew he was gonna do it." But then you think, why didn't they do anything about it? They did nothing, and they knew he was gonna do something like this. They predicted it. That's terrible. That's a terrible example of high school students. I'm a high school student. That just gives us a bad name because multiple people knew that he was messed up and they didn't do anything. People are growing up, and I'm like, I don't want to talk like I'm like an old person talking about millennials because I'm a millennial. And so from that viewpoint, I can see what's wrong with like people I know. Like people grow up learning that they can't just, you know, tell someone they're weird. And the thing is, and stuff like that. And the thing is, you don't necessarily have to do that. People are just scared, like, to talk to the weird kid. They're like, "Oh, it'll be bad for my popularity." Like, that's terrible. If you're gonna, basically, if you're not talking to someone who's got, like, major mental issues because of popularity, then those 17 kids' bloods are on your hand. And I know that's, like, a terrible thing to say, but I think it's true. Like, if you're not, you're the reason. All those kids that refuse to talk to the weird kid, those 17 innocent people's bloods are on your hands. Because you put your own reputation above saving the school from a shooting. That's extremely selfish, and it gives my generation a terrible name because we're the generation that refused to talk to the weird kid. That's so annoying to me. And it's difficult, I know, but if multiple people are thinking the same thing, "Oh, he's the weird kid," why didn't one of you talk to him? You don't even have to tell him he's the weird kid. You can just talk to him as a friend. Get to know why he would want to do something like this. Because I don't think anybody's just born, like, having the need to do it. Anyone can be convinced out of something. I don't know if it was family issues or something like that. And then also the fact that he was expelled because he had, like, was in, like, a terrible mental state, and then he was somehow able to get his hands on a gun. Like, how does that happen? And the whole thing about getting rid of guns, that's so stupid. You guys, I don't want to be mean, but, like, think about it. Criminals will always get their hands on what they want. You're basically just taking guns away from people who will actually use it for good things, for self-defense. And you're giving criminals a higher chance, because a criminal's not just going to go in anybody's house and start shooting it. I mean, some will. But, like, there's kind of this mutual respect that, like, if you go in a house in America, it's likely someone's going to have a gun, so you got to be careful. Criminals, like, if we got rid of guns, criminals would get them, and school shootings would probably be more. There would be more deaths. It would be absolute chaos. The problem is that they were created in the first place. They're created so you can't get rid of them. You just need to make sure that there's it's more difficult for people with mental issues and stuff like that to get their hands on it. That's what you need to fix. Not the fact, don't just get rid of guns. That's so stupid. Like, honestly, you just need to think to realize that's like a terrible thing to do. And another thing, this thing really annoyed me because there was no logic behind it. The whole thing about like, oh, no more prayers, let's take action. I understand. Don't just do one of them. Don't just pray and then not take action. But prayers don't take long. Like, who prays for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Like, nobody does that. You pray like 1 minute. And then you can take action. You can do both. There's like this idea that we can do one or the other. Like, that's so stupid. You can have thoughts and prayers for the family, and you can take action. You can do both. So this whole thing's got me annoyed because people are trying to find like an obvious reason when really I think the basic thing is, if you see someone who's acting weird, talk to them. Like, I found it difficult, but I felt like I've talked to a couple people because I felt I had to, because I knew like they're going through something, and not just because they need help, but because I'm scared of the things they might do if they don't get help. So like, I don't want to be like super self-righteous, like, oh, I'm so amazing. I'm just saying, like, it's not that difficult. You just talk to them like a friend. If people don't like you because of that, then other people have the problem. It's their fault. They're the ones in the wrong. You're not in the wrong for talking to the weird kid. Because I think if someone talked to him, if someone was nice and asked him what was going on, and, you know, it's kind of sounds like cringy, but just was nice to them, then maybe he wouldn't have done it. But the fact is, everybody knew there was something wrong with him, but nobody decided to talk to him. And I don't want to like talk about, I feel like the way I'm phrasing this kind of sounds like an old person, like, oh, you millennials. I'm a millennial, and honestly, I don't want to hate on millennials, because I think like my generation has a great future, and we could change a lot of things that are wrong with this world. But this is a problem I've seen, is just people getting too scared to say what's on their mind. Like, and there's like, people are like, oh, you know, there's freedom of speech, but really there's not. Maybe there is as a legal law, but, you know, you don't really get to say what you want. If it's not what's popular, then you're not allowed to say it, or you're excluded. And I think that's stupid. I mean, obviously there's some viewpoints that shouldn't even exist. Like really, really extreme ones. But like, you know, sometimes it feels like there isn't freedom of speech. But yeah, I'm going to end there. It's something that's really been like on my chest, because it's, you know, I'm usually not one to get into these kind of debates, but it just really annoyed me that people, you know, kids refused to talk to this kid, and he ended up killing 17 people. Now, you can hate on this video, you can say whatever you want, but that's just what I think. And I respect other opinions. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.